It's the music stupid number 23. It's Mazzy here. 23 happens to be my lucky number, so this should be a good one. They're all good. What am I talking about? Now, a couple people have responded and threw out messages to me that I am disparaging a portion of my audience by saying it's the music stupid. Well, again, the short answer, I've said this many times, it's a phrase taken from the 1992 Bill Clinton presidential campaign. James Carville, part of the war room, the mantra, it's the music stupid, for their own group of people. Like whenever you're talking, whenever promoting Bill Clinton, his candidacy, it's about the economy. People want to know about the economy. So I am hitting people over the head, as well as my own pontification about the music. It's about the music, stupid. Maslow, talk about the music. You can talk sometimes about pressings. You can talk about mastering. You can talk about formats, but it comes down to a great record, composition, musicianship, lyrics, vocals, just the sound, the production of the record, and the music within that record. So there's my explanation. So if you take offense, that's on you, not on me. And it's a good branding thing, isn't it? It's the music stupid. All right. It's the music stupid. 5 records I pick from my collection. I don't pick them randomly. I carefully choose records I enjoy. Well, I enjoy all these records at different times. You know, you're in the mood. Again, I've said this before. I have this library of music. So, you know, people constantly ask, how can you listen to all those records? Why do you need all those records? It's a library of music. What I want to, I pull that record. I don't really stream. So there you go. But I'm going to open up with a record from 1985. This is a independent band, kind of in the post-punk vein of Northern California, but they're not post-punk can really cover almost any genre. It's really a faux genre, really. I mean, it's these subgenres, but it's Camper Van Beethoven. And Camper Van Beethoven, a little bit of a folk rock, a little bit of a retro sound, violin sometimes in the band. David Lowery is the main songwriter. And this is their debut album. There's been various cover configurations, color-wise and distribution-wise, and just variants of this record. And this is from 1985. This version is Rough Trade Records. When they had a 6th Street South of Market outlet in San Francisco, I remember going there with all these great punk singles and import things, and I should have got a lot more there. It was kind of off the beaten track, right when you get onto the 280 Extension Freeway from downtown South of Market area. Rough Trade Records. This is a band that came out of friends. They came out of Redlands, California, and I think they met at UC Santa Cruz down the coast from San Francisco, Highway 101, Highway 1. And of course, their independent first single is still their most famous famous song, Take the Skinheads Bowling. And it's a fun romp. It's not a punk song. What kind is it? Folk music? Sometimes they have this sort of Russian balalaika sound. Later they would record records on Virgin, and there's some conflict with David Lowery and copyright and Virgin. I don't blame them, but those records are fantastic. I love almost every record, and in fact, I think I like the Virgin records better than overall. But Take the Skinheads Bowling is on this album. The album is called Telephone Free Landslide Victory. The original concept, the title, was supposed to be a Telephone Tree Landslide Victory, but apparently whoever was working with the tapes mismarked the tape, so tree turned into free. But this is a really wonderful record. And of course, that song has become an anthem representing a lot of things. Take the Skinheads Bowling was used by Michael Moore in his documentary, Bowling for Columbine, about obviously the shootings. The title sequence, it uses that song. So I just wanted to do a shout out to Camper Van Beethoven. David Lowery would go on to start a second band called Cracker after this. Cracker's albums, and their albums were on Virgin as well. Fantastic records. I constantly refer to a song by Cracker called Big Dipper, which I just adore. Really about, talks about the Santa Cruz boardwalk down in that area. I used to spend a lot of time down there in Santa Cruz, college town, beach town, big amusement park down there, and the Big Dipper, the huge wooden roller coaster. But there you go, Cracker. And I actually have seen one of my first shows when I came to Seattle was Cracker and Kemper Van Beethoven. He's toured collectively with the two bands in Interchange who's headlining. But Kemper Van Beethoven is my opening thing. Now, this is a record I actually see a lot in the used bins around, and I would say pick it up. The cover is not a great cover. In fact, it's a weird-ass cover, and this is a Silly Sisters. This is 1976. This is a wonderful English vocal folk album. UK folk, I'm a big fan of the UK folk revival from the mid to late 1960s into the 70s. Groups like Steel Eye Span, Pentangle, which is a little more on the jazz side, Fairport Convention, later Lindisfarne. Joe Boyd worked a lot of these artists. Matty Pryor and June Tabor did this wonderful record together. It's very English traditional folk songs. The harmonies on this are stunning. Wacko, whacked out cover. They did a follow-up to this, and they played together for a while under the name that Silly Sisters. But Matty Pryor and June Tabor, of course, Matty Pryor from Steel Eye Span, and June Tabor, a great vocalist on the British folk revival scene in the UK. This has Danny Thompson from Pentangle, great bass player, is on here. There a whole host of Nick Jones, Marty Carthy, and this is produced by Robin Black with Matty Pryor. But it's got a great sound. It's got these traditional instruments, and the band is fantastic on here, very acoustic based. And again, wonderful vocals. Their subsequent record, it's funny, as much as I dislike this cover, I like it better than the second just traditional black and white photograph, I believe. Maybe it's color, but it seems black and white in my mind. I have that on compact discs. But pick this up. This is an original UK copy, and a lot of times you see the UK. It was on Chrysalis Records, and it's just a really great sounding, fun, upbeat record. So Silly Sisters, Matty Pryor and June Tabor, fantastic if you like the folk revival, the British scene. Now, switching directions, this is a wonderful record and really changed directions for Billy Paul. This is War of the Gods by the soul singer Billy Paul with this great, when you open up the cover, this great cover art on this record. This is a psychedelic, funky soul record. It's got long songs for the most part with a couple exceptions. I think it's only 6 songs on the album. 1973. It's a spiritual, in a way, spiritual jazz, but more psychedelic, folk, funky rock music. And it in a way, it's not as political, but in a different sort of fantasy version of politics than what Marvin Gaye was doing around this time. Of course, most people know him from his hit, at least in America, Me and Mrs. Jones. What a great soul singer, a great, interesting voice. But this is a classic record that, if you're from the rock side or from the spiritual jazz side and you like soul music, this is a great record. I find it hard to find used lately. I mean, I never see it. I rarely see it. And I think the price has gone up, and I don't know if there's been a reissue of this, but it's a fantastic record. It's got this, huge gatefold portrait taken almost, I don't know where that is, in the desert, Joshua Tree, I don't know where that is, Utah, who knows? I probably should have looked that up, but I See the Light, War of Gods. It's an epic type of soul record, psychedelic soul record. So Billy Paul, War of the Gods. Now, in a different direction, everything is different today. This is a 1987 record created by Linda Ronstadt at the height of her career, of her popularity. Linda Ronstadt's the biggest selling female vocalist, recording artist, female of the 1970s. And this is Canciones de mi Padre, Music of My Father. She had done some songs in Spanish on subsequent albums. I think Hasten Down the Wind, there's one or two, and a few others. And of course, she comes from Arizona. Her family is Mexican heritage. And she had to fight the record companies. And, if you haven't seen the documentary from a couple of years ago on Linda Ronstadt, you owe it to yourself, too. Whatever you think about her pop records and her country rock records, she is a force. She is a voice. She has a gut of what she knows. And this is an all-Spanish record, again, produced by her normal producer, Peter Asher, but arranged and conducted by Ruben Fuentes, who works with it's sort of a Maharachi strings and horns and all in Spanish record. This was a huge seller, so it really surprised the label, I think, and a lot of people. I think some of the critics on the rock side, the pop side, didn't get it at the time, thought she was sort of pandering to to a Latin audience, but obviously the world audience of this is massive, even beyond America. This was a huge, huge seller, and it's a really well-recorded, a beautiful, beautiful record. She did do a follow-up. I think it was called Más Canciones, More Music. I can't express my love for this record enough. It's just a really feel-good record too, and really something that was true to her heart. And I did see her when she toured this in the late 70s. But it's great when an artist is going along on a certain thing. And she had done, 3-4 records, more or less of similar style, taking covers of Randy Newman and Warren Zevon and Elvis Costello and the independent women songwriters as well. And this is something really different. Kind of like later, she did one of the first, in a way, songbook artists hooking up with Nelson Riddle, doing a trilogy of song books. Really, really wonderful. And of course, on Broadway, doing Pirates of Penzance. This is great. And pick it up. It's a cheap record if you see it in the used bins. But if you like, foreign language, I think it's the biggest foreign language selling album in America to this day, I think. It was at one point, but it may have been eclipsed by something else. And lastly, I want to showcase Nielsen Sings Newman. This is a gorgeous record. This is a really good vocal pop record. This is a later, I'd say a mid-70s reissue, and I don't know why they cropped out the cover. This is the original cover. I need to find a copy of this. I don't see it very often with the original copy. There's various copies with the different color bands around it, and I don't know why they cropped in, because this illustration, this painting was done by Dean Torrance from Jan and Dean fame. He did several covers in the early 70s. This is a 1970 release. Harry Nilsson had done at least one other. I think he did on a subsequent album, Simon Smith and His Amazing Dancing Bear, which is a Randy Newman song. And Randy Newman's songs, I think he's one of the great American songwriters, up there with Paul Simon, definitely. He doesn't have the popularity in terms of his own albums. Obviously, people know about Short People and more his gimmick songs, I Love L.A., but his songwriting, some social, some political, has a certain snarkiness and a certain wry sense of humor to it. And Harry Nilsson told his record companies he's going to do a whole record of his songs. And in 1970, not many people knew Randy Newman himself. His songs had been covered by a lot of other artists around this time. But this is a gorgeous record. Harry Nilsson overdubs his voice, multi-layers with these. Vine Street, of course, the great street, Hollywood and Vine, in L.A. Vine Street, I guess, isn't that where the Capitol Record Towers, Lover Story, Yellow Man, Caroline Cowboy, Dayton, Ohio, 1903, So Long, Dad. There's a beauty to this. Some might feel it's a schmaltzy thing, but it's anything but. It's a lovely recorded record, very minimal record. Randy Newman plays piano on it, so he really takes his own songs and allows Harry to do these great vocal overdubs. It's just a really, really, really lovely record. And again, let me know if you see this version. Of course, there still is the border, but you got the full car on here, and that's the way it should be. So this is the end of It's the Music Stupid number 23. All these records are just really beautiful records this time. I mean, is it Beauty? Is it Beauty? In a way, maybe the only non-beautiful one might be this one, but it's still a great record. Thank you for watching. Mazzy loves you.
Love them. Okay, so how do you know each other?
We're all drug dealers.
Oh, okay.